Welcome, Capricorn, to your vernal equinox 3-month forecast for the ascendant, the sun, or the moon. Each year, when the sun returns to Aries, it's the beginning of the new astrological year. But also, it ushers in cardinal quadrant 1. Aries is a cardinal sign, just like you, very much about action and authority. And over the next 3 months, through to the Cancer solstice, it's an opportunity for you to shape your world, but particularly around the more emotional and home-based dimension. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. At the end of this forecast, you'll have a clearer understanding, Capricorn, of what you can expect around work, relationships, finance, and also energy. On the screen now is your event chart, and you can see there's the sun at 0 degrees. It's also coming into contact immediately with Neptune, the planet of dreams, but also of illusions, for the first time in Capricorn for 150 years. That's really very powerful. Also, your ruler Saturn, which returned to this part of your situation on the 12th of February, is also there to receive the sun as well. Now, although the sign of Aries is ruled by Mars and is very much about action, can be about just going for it, the fourth house, conversely, is very reflective. It's much more to do with the roots of your situation. Now, the fourth house can be in a more protective way to do with property. So, Saturn, particularly the physical place we live, but it can also be how we feel about that place. And that's where Neptune is very important, because that's much more about the atmosphere. So if you're living somewhere where the roof is working well, the atmosphere is very good, it's pleasing to you in terms of the decorative order, Venus, and it makes you feel very safe and secure, and you have very good relationships with people close to you. This is a very constructive, uh, very constructive vernal equinox natal chart, particularly if you're wanting perhaps to restructure some part of that home environment to improve it. Now, with Venus, that could be decoratively. Saturn, it could be by refitting something or upgrading. It's also in a great link with Pluto, the transformer in the second house of everyday resources. So that brings a stability to the equation. But recently, there has been a cluster of energy in the sign of Pisces, and one of those, Mercury, has been in retrograde. The third house can also be about siblings or people that we have everyday connections with. And what Saturn will do for you over the next couple of years is make you much more conscious of where you feel a bit tongue-tied or inhibited with certain close people, or where you don't feel very much at ease in any particular location. Now, the immediate environment doesn't necessarily have to be our home. So, because Saturn can be about work, it may be an office, a space, it might be the people that you need to work with. All of these things can come under the astral microscope over the next 13 weeks. But what is pleasing is that Mercury's been retrograde for 3 weeks, and later on the 20th, goes direct. So if there have been some cross wires, misunderstandings, they can be eased a little bit. Also, if you've got ideas that you're really passionate about, Mars is forging a stunning angle to Jupiter, the planet of luck. But Mars is in your third house and may have made you want to be more active recently. But equally, it may have made you just want to express those enthusiasms you've got with a great deal more conviction. And with Mercury going direct, that's going to be helped and eased. The North Node, the point of destiny, is saying, look, whatever ideas you've got, make sure you stay in tune with them in terms of the emotion. Jupiter in your sector of relationships hasn't, I don't think, brought quite the uplift you may have hoped from its arrival last June. But more recently, having gone direct, it has been forging a series of pleasing influences. And if you've been having dialogue, which is very much to do with that Pisces energy, I feel now with the arrival of the sun in Aries, you can start to assess really how it feels. Mars and Jupiter particularly is a very energized, enthusiastic, go-getting, can see no problems kind of energy, where Saturn in the fourth house is much more going to arouse that part of your nature that you had when you were very young, which could be quite cautious, maybe even a little shy at times. Certainly wanting to plan things out in a step-by-step way. But what about Neptune? Well, if there is someone that you're attracted to at the moment, but you seem to be getting mixed messages and you're not quite sure of how you feel emotionally, even though the flamboyancy between you, Mars can, of course, be about desire. The third house can be about chatting. In that link with Jupiter, it can be like, very exuberant. It wants it, and it wants it now, because Mars can be about instant gratification. So that has to compete with this more resistant energy of your ruler, which is more cautious, and perhaps potentially that more distorting energy of Neptune. So it's not all 100% brilliant. Astrology charts never are. But what you do have is still a brilliant link to Uranus. Now, Uranus is in an intriguing part of your chart and has been for 7 years, apart from the 4 months of last year when it went briefly into Gemini, in that the fifth house is perhaps where Uranus can work quite well. If you have stepped outside your comfort zone around dating or around expressing an unusual talent or ability, that may have actually provided quite a lot of excitement and fun over those years. But the Sun is still in an excellent link with Uranus in a sextile. It's just what's known as disassociate. If it was back in Pisces at 28 degrees as it was, then you're really getting the talking and the thinking going in a very sparky, quick moving, perhaps innovative, or perhaps just a real buzz of attraction way. But now you're being asked to filter it all through the prism of your senses and ask yourself, do you feel safe, secure, atmospherically, does it feel right for you? These things are important. And it's possible to have two things going at the same time. So you may have had a very charismatic attraction to someone, and that may still be there. And they may actually be quite caring and nurturing, but still it doesn't feel quite right. That's where we can get those contradictions. So it's really down to you, really, not to let Neptune erode your more practical nature, and also not let Neptune be so enabling of your maybe imagination about what might not be quite right, that the fearfulness that can come from Saturn gets rooted, because there is a lot to like here. But I think that, to summarize, the link between Mars and Jupiter is brilliant if you have been chatting to someone recently, really fancy them. I think the bubbliness between you can be great, but if there have been cross wires, they can start to be evened out. But I think in terms of a property matter, this chart's very good if you're wanting to do repairs, improvements, or renovations. If you're wanting to move, then obviously it needs to practically work. Saturn could throw up uh, some kind of inhibition, blockage, delay. But I think that if you are generating a lot of good ideas that you're wanting to uh, improve your work situation with, that Sun Uranus sextile is fantastic, along with the Mars Jupiter one. Your enthusiasm, brilliant ideas for a sign which is known to be very pragmatic and functional is ace. It's just, it has to feel right. Now, if you work from home, you provide a local service, you are very comfortable in your abode and can be very productive there. This is a great chart for the next 3 months. If you work somewhere where it's difficult to get to, it's a long journey, it's a cold atmosphere, it's actually not physically very comfortable to be in, that actually can push you to start thinking about what you might do differently. And in a month's time, when the Sun moves into Taurus, that could be the trigger to perhaps be a bit more enterprising or perhaps speculative and break out of this need to just be very mindful of how it feels and whether it works both emotionally and practically as far as security is concerned. But you're still buzzing from that lively energy from Pisces, which is about being in touch with emotion. But I think a lot of communication has been flowing backwards and forwards, and will get better with Mercury going direct. Thank you so much for joining me, Capricorn. If you've yet to watch your Pisces new moon video, please see that on the screen. If you've yet to watch your Jupiter direct 4-month forecast, please check that out, because it's very good for your relationship prospects. You can sign up for your free daily horoscope to be fired to your device each morning. I've written them for years. It gives you an opportunity to have that early morning cosmic pit stop, that moment of reflection. You could look for your sun, your ascendant, your moon. Maybe you look for someone you like, someone you used to see. Also, if you'd like to work with me one-to-one, please see my testimonials below. And if you'd like to order your personal horoscopes, they're great value. They're very accurate. They're unique for each person they're produced for. But also, the life roadmap can give you, or anyone, searing insights into the patterns that are played out in life. The forecast when to time moves future forwards. If you apply Astro 26 at the checkout, you'll get 50% off the Natal. Draco 26 at the checkout. If you're interested in the Soul Karmic version, you'll get 50% off those. Wishing you all the best for this next very powerful 3 months. But I think it could be seminal if you're wanting to find just the right place to live, or get more secure in your inner world, but certainly be working on evolving in that sphere of your situation, particularly if being in touch with vulnerability has been something that you found challenging in the past. This is a real chance to go for it, particularly with Chiron in the 4th house in Aries, so close to the moon too.